watched the video where my little friend taught you what constellations were. Luke, what were constellations? What are they?
They are stars that you can connect into shapes.
Stars that you can connect into shapes. So, okay, Zach, go ahead.
Clusters of stars.
Clusters of stars. Macy?
They're patterns created by stars.
Okay. Archer?
They're clusters of stars that make shapes.
Nani?
There's shapes that got put out there by the goddesses.
Anna Lily?
There's gods too. Yeah.
Okay. Lucas?
They are shapes, forms, and things made out of stars that look like certain things. There's constellations of Greek heroes, and most constellations come from Greece. Technically, they're not made by gods and goddesses. We can't prove that for a fact, but in Greek mythology, they are.
I love Greek mythology. So my first question for you, based on your current knowledge of what we've learned about stars, we look up in the sky and we can see these stars and connect the dots because the stars are close to each other and make shapes. Are the stars actually close to each other? No. They just look like they're close to each other based on how they are in our sky. They are not actually close to each other. So, a constellation would be defined as a pattern formed by prominent stars. Prominent just means brighter stars that we're able to see here. So, on your paper, what is a constellation? Let's go ahead and write this definition down. A pattern formed by prominent stars within apparent close proximity. So apparent means they just look like they are close to each other. So let's write that definition. Do you have a pencil or do you need one? A pattern formed by prominent stars within apparent close proximity to one another, oftentimes having a mythological tale to explain the group or pattern. So if you've ever done a connect the dots, follow the numbers, I found 1, and now I draw a line to 2, and now I draw a line to 3, and now I draw a line to 4. That's basically what we're doing with the stars in the sky. Someone explain to us, bring in a little bit of genres of literature here. What is mythology? Harper?
A myth is kind of like something that's not real, but it's just like what we think.
Okay. So mythology is generally regarded as fiction nowadays.
Yep.
At one point in time they thought it to be true, but not. Mythology will generally deal with the ancient gods and goddesses, whether that be the Greek gods and goddesses like Zeus and Hades and all of that. You've got the Roman mythological counterparts like Jupiter.
Mercury.
Yeah. And then you could also get into like Norse mythology. And I know you all are going to look at me like, what? But I guarantee you, every single one of you are familiar with at least 2 Norse gods. One of them often carries a hammer named Mjolnir and is the god of thunder and lightning for Norse mythology. You know him as Thor. And the other one that I guarantee you are familiar with is his trickster god of a brother, Loki. So you guys, those of you who are familiar with it are familiar with it through Marvel Comics. But Marvel Comics actually stole them from Norse mythology. So, I've stolen long enough. Hopefully you had it written. If not, I'm sorry. The idea of constellations then is that we take a group of stars in the sky and we use the prominent ones, meaning the brighter ones, to make some kind of shape. So what you are looking at there is Orion, who is the hunter. We'll talk a little bit more about him tomorrow, but we are going to use him to at least introduce the idea of constellations. So we take those stars and we connect them together, and there you have what you would visualize with the stars as the hunter, and ideally that would then turn into something to that effect.
Wait, all the stars do that, or is just a picture of everything?
There are actually 80, I think 83. 88, is that what she said?
Yeah.
Okay. 88 recognized constellations. We're only going to be learning about 10 of them. 5 of them today, 5 of them tomorrow.
How much stars make up this one constellation?
So,
65.
circumpolar constellations are what we're going to be learning about today. Now you'll notice right underneath where you define constellations, we are going to define circumpolar. Now the word circumpolar was a lot easier to define when I taught 6th graders because we learned about things like circumference, and we knew what the prefix circum meant.
What does that mean?
Circum simply means around. So circumpolar just means that they appear to move around the pole, or Polaris, which is another name for the North Star. If you remember yesterday when we looked at those videos of the star traces, they all had this, like at least the northern ones, had the North Star in the middle and all of the other stars appeared to go around that. So that's the circumpolar that we're talking about here. So go ahead and write in the definition there. Circumpolar constellations are constellations that are located around the North Star, also known as Polaris, and are therefore visible year-round from the northern hemisphere. It does not matter what time of year it is. In the northern hemisphere, we can always see the North Star.
Even in day?
Therefore, we can always see these constellations. You know the answer to that question, Zach. Don't ask it. Write your definition. So circumpolar constellations are the constellations that we in the northern hemisphere can see year-round because they are circling around the North Star, also known as Polaris. So these are the 5 circumpolar constellations that we're going to talk about. You'll notice right here is the North Star. That is the star that, if you remember that big swirly picture, I pointed out the star right in the middle of it. That's this star. Which means that video, head up, Zach, just stop the groaning. That video had these constellations in it, swirling around. The first one we're going to talk about is this guy right over here. Ursa Major. So on your little note thing there, I want you to sketch the picture. And then I want you to at least briefly tell me what it is. Which is what I'm going to tell you, so you need to be listening. So sketch the picture for Ursa Major. According to legend, Ursa Major was once the beautiful maiden Callisto, whom the god Zeus made his girlfriend. Well, no, he was already married to Hera, so let's not talk about what he. Zeus was a player.
Oh, okay.
But, so the bear was once a maiden named Callisto. In order to protect her and their son, Arcus, from his jealous wife Hera, Zeus turned Callisto and Arcus into the bears that we will see. There's a couple of different ways you can look at it, but I generally picture this as like the head, and those are the front legs, and that's and then that's the little stub of the tail that a bear has. So Ursa Major is the big bear. So if nothing else, on those lines next to it, I want you to write the big bear. Ursa Minor, which is otherwise called the Little Dipper. Ursa Minor actually translates to the little bear. Okay? So, Ursa Minor is a little bit harder to find because the Little Dipper is just not as prominent. However, if you can find the North Star, which again, the North Star is always in the northern sky, which is actually that way.
Literally circles it and names it.
Yeah, no, it does. So the North Star is the very tail of the little bear, which I'll give you. Some of these you're going to look at and be like, how is that a little bear?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not the one that made them. I'm just the one teaching them.
No one made.
But as far as their relationship in the sky, normally you can find the Big Dipper before you can find anything. And then the spoon. So the Big Dipper is just kind of this right here. The spoon points at the Little Dipper. Ursa Major, the big bear. Ursa Minor, the little bear. So next one. Cepheus. Cepheus is the king. I've seen lots of different interpretations of this. I like to picture him turned to the side, and so this is his head, and this is his crown, and then this is him holding his little staff. I've seen some where this is like his throne, and somehow I don't know. You can picture it however you want. Cepheus, you're going to write on the line, the king. According to myth, Zeus placed Cepheus into the sky after his tragic death, which resulted, you'll come to find that a lot of things in Greek mythology have to do with people falling in love with other people and then fighting over being in love with each other. For some reason, that's just the Greeks. The Greeks were all about, loving each other, even if that meant each other was somebody else's husband. I don't know. So his tragic death, which resulted from a jealous lover's spat. It began when Cepheus' wife, Cassiopeia, who we'll learn about here in just a minute, boasted that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs themselves. And this upset Poseidon, because Poseidon's like, Poseidon, god of sea, is like, nothing is more beautiful than my sea nymphs, and there is no way you should be saying that, and I am going to kill Cassiopeia. And then Cepheus was like, no, and then he was like, I'm dead, and Zeus was like, but I liked you, Cepheus, go live in the stars, or something like that. Cassiopeia is a W. Some people picture it as her sitting on her throne. Some people picture it as her like laying on a bed. I don't know. But Cassiopeia is actually actually kind of has a fun story to her.
What?
So she was Cepheus's wife, who was like, I'm more beautiful than the sea nymphs. And Poseidon was like, no, you're not. Down with your husband. And then Zeus was like, oh no, I need to protect you guys. And so he threw them up in the sky. But Poseidon was like, you're not getting off that easy. And so every night, Poseidon's like, you sitting in your throne, Cassiopeia, blah, you're going to get dumped out of it every night. Now the point of this, or the reason that this is part of the story, if you remember, so Polaris, the North Star, Cassiopeia, sitting on her throne. Hi guys, look at me, wearing my dress. And
I'm the prettiest person on earth.
I'm so pretty. But what do the circumpolar constellations do? They circle around the North Star, which means every night
He's upside down.
she is now
Upside down.
over here, like, oh my goodness, Poseidon, why did he? So every night she gets dumped out of her throne.
Wait, Mr. Pratt. You sound just like.
I know, right? Cepheus being the king, who likes to brag about Cassiopeia, and then Cassiopeia being the one that was like, I'm more beautiful than the sea nymphs. And Poseidon was like, no!
You are not.
And so Zeus puts her in the sky so that she's safe, but Poseidon's like, you're not getting off that easy. And every night he's like, boom, I'm going to turn your throne over. Take that, girl. More beautiful than my sea nymphs.
Totally.
Our last one is Draco. Now, you will notice, as she mentioned in the video, you will notice that J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, actually took a lot of her names of her characters from constellations and Greek mythology. Because you have Draco Malfoy, Sirius Black. One of the stars you're going to learn, well, yeah, we've learned about Sirius the star already. We did learn about it. So Draco is a dragon. Draco was the most famous dragon, and he was famous because Hercules had to defeat him. We know Hercules, right? Big, strong. I can go the distance. So the most famous story involving Draco was that Hercules had to defeat him to possess the golden apples. Now Draco is regarded as the dragon who's guarded a lot of golden things. The golden apples, the golden fleece. The golden fleece shows up in other mythology. Draco the dragon, defeated by Hercules. And then Athena was like, but I love dragons. They're so beautiful. So she grabbed it by its tail and threw it up into the sky. So you draw the picture, and then on the line, if nothing else, you write the name, the dragon. So your final thing that you have to do is draw together a sketch of our circumpolar constellations.